All right, what I'd like to do is just discuss a couple of charge controllers, what I'd like to show you. Right now, actually, the large producing panels in watts is not even getting sun. It's just my old system that's hitting the sun right now. And I'm just going to show you how one of the charge controllers reacts. If I can get you to back up and zoom at the charge controllers now. Here's the heater. Actually, I want to show you a heater. And it's plugged into the same circuit that's running my fridge. It's being controlled by this controller right now. And there's the relay that's going to click on and off. But we're going to just concentrate on this type of charge controller first, and you're going to see it drop. When it goes into a fault mode, you cannot manipulate them. It just goes into fault. So we're going to go through the whole 9 yards. This charge controller, if you press the button, it'll show you degrees temperature, because it's got a temperature compensator, charging compensator, and it's showing you the amps, 0.2. Well, yeah, because there's no sun hitting this thing right now. And that's how many watts today went through. That's how many the load went through, good potential. And they're showing you the voltage again. I've gone all the way around. So now if I press and hold it, now it goes into PV off. So right now I've got those panels set up to turn off at 14.2. I slam mine right up to 14.2 volts. There's some that I hit a little bit harder, but I know there's a load going to it. Okay, so here is load on at 13.9. That's where it was set. Load off at 13.3. But I have nothing hooked up to it. You see the bottom? Can you see my finger here? There's nothing, no wires hooked up to the load end of it. So, but that's where this controller happens to be set. So, and there's my 24 volt setting. You can also use these charge controllers as street lighting. That's what that is for. You can tell it how many hours after it gets dark you want it to stay on. And then you go back to PV off. Now, if I don't touch this thing for about, 5 or so seconds, it'll go back into its automatic setting, and then you'll see if it's charging or not, because really they're not seeing any sun. Actually, these things are not seeing any sun. See that this one here has already gone into fault mode, because I'm actually using it for a hot water tank element, 12 volt hot water tank element that I replaced in my hot water tank. So this one here always goes into fault every night. And so does the one that runs my fridge. It goes into fault every night, because I have it set up that way. These, you can manipulate them just like these. Stay away from these though. The 3-button affair, all of these charge, can see how I've got several of them. Well, as they hopefully burn out someday, I'll get rid of them, and I'll be moving up to either this type, this type of charge controller. It's the 5-button, 4 and reset, or the Cadillac. And the Cadillac, I really like those. And from now on, actually, I'll be looking to buy those. But these were not bad, just for the user-friendliness. They all do the same, but these are just the user-friendly is terrible. I don't like them. I prefer the others, and I will be buying the others from now on. These are a lot bigger in physical size because I've got a lot more watts going through them. But that one there, I was cruel to it. I just wanted to see whether it would, how tough it was, and it was as tough as a bag of nails. I have, I'll grab this one here. I'll be right back. And see, I have a bigger one to go in. Whoops, sorry. I've got yeah, that's how they got it, sorry. No. That's how they got it set. I've got a bit bigger. This is a 40 and that one's a 30. And I ran that poor 30. I ran it hot this year. But hey, they're supposed to handle it. You know that, 10%, or so they say. So one of these, dumb ones are coming out, and I'll be replacing it. That one will go into the big one goes up there, because I've got 600 watts going on. So here I also have this heater, and it's plugged into the same circuit that is running my fridge. And I'll just turn it on also. So here we're going to watch the voltage. Everything is happening here. And here we go. I'm applying 500 watts. The voltage is being knocked. Boom. Now it's gone into fault. I'm going to turn the 500 watts off. We got to wait a little bit because it's just my original array that is lifting them. There we go. They're all starting to climb. This will be the long part. Oh, we're starting to climb. Here comes the power. They always go back to charge. Okay, so here we are. And it says it applied the load, but I have no load on there. So it goes first. Whoop. That's to turn your load. They give you a button to turn your load on and off manually if you want. That's kind of handy, but I never seem to use it except for right now, as I accidentally touched it. So you're up and down when you're in there, and you can turn your load on and off manually if you want, but I have no load there right now. And this one here's already gone into fault because I've got this one set really high as a voltage. First it runs my fridge, and then if it continues, and I've got this one here set really high, but it's it'll end up it's not in sun right now. These charge controllers are not seeing any sun. I've got a bunch of different arrays out there, and that's my big one. And it's gone into fault. So let's go sit in the kitchen. All right, usually when we're talking about 12 volt, the wire, the positive wire, is the one with the stripe. So if I can get my cameraman to zoom, see right here, this is your positive wire. Do you see the white line in the wire? They give you a white painted line in this case. Sometimes they just give you a little bump in the wire. And they're just trying to tell you that that's the positive wire. Now, again, for those that do not believe me, this is hooked up to the positive, this is hooked up to the negative. Red is hot, red is positive. Now, we're going to see this meter sweep when I put the negative and the positive on there. Doesn't matter if the fan's running or not. So do you see how the one with the line is positive? The cigarette lighter, the absolute center is your positive and the outer is your negative. So the one with the line, usually 99.999% of the time, is positive. Now, some people, they think, like, I'm not protected, and you're going to catch a shock, and you don't have it in a box. And well, here, the common is the white, and the black wire is your hot wire, 120 volt. So here, do you see, come over here, do you see how this is the black and the fan is running? Okay, am I catching a shock? Of course not. But I tell you, I would not touch that and go touch my sink. Or even a stove, or even especially something that's hooked up. Sink, in that case, is water all the way to your pump, all the way to the well, all the way to ground. So you're going to go for a ride. Or your stove, because, usually they're all wired in, or even a gas stove. The gas stove is hooked to a copper line that goes underground all the way to my propane tank, in this case. So you're going to ground. So your hot is pretty safe if you're, even though it's running the fan and there's power going there. You don't want to touch both. You don't want to touch hot or ground. So just to clear that up a little bit with the 12 volt and your 110 volt AC, you can deal with live stuff, and I do it all the time. I should, but there you go. There you are with that. Thanks. All right, here's a little bit of a continuation about charge controllers. Way back when, 26 plus years ago, they used to be manual chargers. And automatic, but they were kind of manual. And what I mean by manually, you would set them a lot more manually, and they weren't electronic like they are today. Here's an old trace. They call it the C30A. These things have treated me really well over the years. And the funny thing about them is I find them fast reacting. All of the charge controllers that I showed you in there, it seems it takes them 5 to 7 seconds to finally make the adjustment. Like sometimes I apply really large loads like a heater, and you see the voltage dropping, and you're waiting for the other charge controllers to turn on to help handle this load, and it just seems that they're unbelievably slow, like 5 to 7 seconds slow. Whereas the old manual Trace C30A, it's instant. That thing there, as soon as the voltage drops, bang, it's on. And that's what I've always liked about it. They give you a bypass switch, equalize, you throw it on bypass, and it still disconnects at night, but it just gives you wide open, on, that's it. So for those reasons, I kind of really liked it. And the other nice thing is if you came in with tech cable, they already have the strain reliefs, or whatever you want to call them. And you could just come in with tech, zip against the wall, and you're already, like CSA approved, like you don't have to enclose anything in cabinets or nothing. Whereas these don't have the strain relief on them. It's just the lugs, like where you put the wires in, there's your contacts that hold the wires. Well, that's all you get with these. So if you're tugging on the wires, you've got nothing to hold that relief on these. Whereas these already come with that, and that's kind of nice. So you can just screw it to the wall, you're good to go. And in the old, now if I can get my camera on to really zoom, here's your trim pots. So you still get to adjust them, fully adjustable when you want your panels on or off. Here's your low adjust trim pot, and you go in there with a micro screwdriver there, and you set that high-low, and same thing with your high adjust. Here they even give you a schematic diagram of your trim pots. So here's your fuse, right? And here's the actual solenoid that's throwing the switch. This is the switch. So when it pushes it this way, it's on. You see the contactor there make. So fuse, and then they go right through it. They drew a little bit more power than the electronics, but it's nothing wild. You're making sun. When they're disconnected, they all draw the same amount of power, but when they're actually working, just to throw this little contactor here takes a little extra power. But they've always treated me good, these things. They're either on or off. There is no taper the closer it gets to full charge. And sometimes you want that. It's nice to have a set that's turning on instantly. So in the old days, that's what they had. Trace, if I'm not mistaken, Hart Industries was one of the first companies to go solar and give you some kind of control and stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, Trace ended up buying out Hart Industries. And they are still a very well-known brand today. And like I said, dependability. I pulled this one out of service and still worked fine. I've lost a couple of charge controllers, one or two, and I did lose one of these due to lightning strike. But, and it's funny, that same lightning bolt is what knocked the mill down, and the mill is like 12 miles away. But the way this static goes through the air, and it doesn't take much to burn, the electronics up on things like that. But that one, I remember that one strike, people lost their TV sets, and it knocked the mill down. So, and I ended up losing, they were about $150 back then, probably still are. I don't know if they went down much. But the simple on-off and instant, that's kind of nice. So, and they don't give you the load, but you can use this to control load, just like I was telling you before. You don't even have these things here. You don't even have to have solar panels going through them, and you can control the load. But again, as soon as it goes into the trip mode, you cannot manipulate them. It takes that away until that high limit hits again, and then away they go. They always charge. If it was hooked up to it, it'll give you the charge, but they go in default for everything else. But, I like to see things move along, and now you can get these things. This one here in particular is at least $100 for this one, and those cheap ones, they're, you know, 40, 50 bucks on eBay. You can get them. So here I'm about to show you how I'm going to control a 120 volt circuit using 12 volts. And because you can set the high-low on these controllers, you can tell this relay when to turn on or off. In this case, I'm just going to use a 12 volt cigarette plug-in. And here you can see we're going to follow through. So the hot wire is going to be, that's turned on and off. That is on its way to this switch. So the switch is plugged in, and actually I should be able to touch both and not catch a shock. See, I'm not catching a shock. It's because the relay is not letting the power through. When you're wiring up your household, everything is always this way in your boxes, you know, plugins and that. Your neutral, it's white on silver, black on gold, and then you hook your ground up. But it's always that way with your plugins, and you know, whenever you see a plugin, if it's done properly and legally, you know, that's what you do. Now some people, and I gotta say, one of the worst shocks I caught in all my life happened at my mother's house, and she had one of those Electrolux vacuum cleaners, Electrolux vacuum cleaner, and the body was metal. And sooner or later the cord wears, and they cut the cord off and they put their own cord on, and that cord there allowed you to plug it in this way or this way. So it's a 50-50 shot, right? Which one is hot? Well, anyway, I, stupid me, washed my car first, so everything was soaking wet, including me, 2 soakers. And not thinking, plugged the vacuum in any old way because it would fit. And the body on the vacuum was hot, was live. And man, did I go for a run. I went for a real ride with that one. So that's why it's important. And when you look at your plug-in, the little one is your hot wire. Your big slot here is your common. And your hot really isn't very dangerous as long as it's not touching the common. So let's get back to the 12 volt relay, and if you can see this, the hot wire is going to be doing all the switching, and the common is just going straight to the plug-in. And it's been plugged in all along. I'm powered up. This thing's ready to go. So here I've got you know, those power packs, you know, you use to boost your car and all that stuff. And on this one they give you an inverter on there, and they give you a solar panel on there. And this one here was lame when it came to changing the battery out. You have to bust it open, you know. Thanks, Canadian Tire, for that one. Or wait a minute, let's try and give the proper people shit here. Power, X power, so I wonder if this is the Xantrex. I better not say anything because it might not. But anyway, they give you a little 5-watt panel with it. And actually, speaking of 5-watt panel, at one time that's what I used to control one of these. And I didn't like using it for a fridge, because what I did was I took a 5-watt panel out there, and it was getting perfect sun. And the AC end, I plugged a lamp into it and fired it out the window so that I can see it when it turns on and off. And I went outside and I took black tape, one of those cheap 5 watts Canadian Tire solar panels, and I'm looking at the light. The light is lit, beautiful sunny day. So I take a piece of black tape, put it across the panel, another piece of black tape, another piece of black tape, and I kept doing that till the light turned off. And then I pulled one piece of black tape off. Bang, there you are. So the minute that a cloud went into the, you know, covered that, the cloud came by and covered that solar panel just a little bit, boom, dropped that circuit out. So it's okay for an element or things that, you know, you really don't care about. But I didn't want the fan, start, stop, you know. because a cloud goes in the way. That's why I ended up going voltage control instead. But to control other circuits, it's funny, a little 5-watt panel, you could probably get away with those, like 160 milliamp, you know. You can probably get just the little strip panels would be more than enough to fire a 12-volt relay. It takes really nothing to fire them. So anyway, here we go. I'm going to control a 120-volt AC circuit. I got a fan plugged in there now with 12 volts. And you'll even hear the click on the relay, have I? Oh, did you hear that? So there goes my 120-volt fan. And it's being controlled with 12 volts. This is a 12-volt cigarette. There, you can hear it. Controlling the relay. And then you can, you know, if it's good for 30 amp, you're good for 30 amp, you know. In my case in there, the refrigerator, it draws, about 1.2 amp at 120 volt. But to start that compressor, it could draw well over 500-600 watts. So if you're using even those smaller inverters, you better have big wire and everything better be bolted, you know, like you want a really good connection, keep everything short. And really I would, suggest when it comes to buying inverters, nothing less than 1500 watt continuous. And, why do you want to shortchange yourself? They go all the way and, well, I can't run a skill saw now. And I can't run a washing machine now. And I can't, and then the list goes, well, why didn't you just pay the extra $30, $40 and be done with it? And now you can run shop box and, why limit yourself? So never ever buy an inverter. Like I'm running a 3000 watt continuous and I love it. And I torture that thing. The one at Canadian Tire, it used to drive me crazy, the cooling fan on it. And that was the only thing that drove me crazy. So I'd grab a wooden popsicle stick, or I'd grab a plastic straw. There, darn fan, annoying fan, and I'd jam that in there. There, I don't want to hear the fan. Now it's nice and quiet. Because it was annoying, it's like running a vacuum in your house. It wasn't like a little computer fan, so... Like, that's the only beef I have about the 3000 watt, that gall darn annoying fan. And then when I know I'm going to arc weld, or I know I'm going to, I got a little project going outside, and I'm doing a lot of cutting with the skill saw. I cut a lot of metal, almost all my angle iron and that. I just use a skill saw because it's got a beautiful guard. It keeps all the, not setting you on fire, and I've just always loved it. You're not getting covered in metal filings. So actually, I do more cutting of metal with my skill saw than I do with my grinder. You can get metal cutting blades, or you can even get masonry for cutting cement with your skill saw. A skill saw just do so many different things. So here now you understand, I hope you understand how I'm controlling a 120 volt circuit, and that's why in my previous video, it doesn't matter what you skip across the relay. It could be the same 12 volt DC, it could be 120 volt AC, it could be 24 volt DC, whatever you're skipping across. The column goes straight to where it's going, and you're just controlling the black wire. And it's 3 pin. And if I were to use the other 2 pins, like just move it over and catch the other 2 pins, then it's power to off. You're deliberately trying to apply 12 volts to turn something off. That's what I meant by 5-pin relay. 2 are for the 12 volt. It's 12 volt relay. And the other 3 pins, if I use these 2, it's powered on. If I use those 2, it's powered off. That's all. That's what I meant by that. So I hope you understand a little more about charge controllers and how I'm controlling my fridge in this case. And stay tuned. I'm going to get into inverters next for my YouTube video. Thanks a lot. Bye now.